Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Kobe Rada, and I want to discuss a very interesting concept called historiocentric versus non-historiocentric view of reality. In the Jewish culture and also the Christian culture, we see that people many times look at history, including things that are very not agreeable, like the Holocaust, as God's will, as something which happened and could not have happened differently because it's God's will. Whereas they look at the future as something which is, part of their free will. This is because Judaism looks at things like that's the Jewish philosophy. It looks at things that way, and the entire Western world has been influenced by that type of approach. In the Eastern culture, in a very different way, we look at a non-historiocentric approach. Something happened, its existence in the past is somehow hovering over the ground. It happened that way, but it could have happened in any different way. Not necessarily it was God's will. We see a very similar thing also in quantum physics. Something called the retrocausality. Some experiments that affect the future affects the past. So what am I saying? I'm not necessarily am I saying that past did not exist, but there is a happy middle here that past doesn't necessarily needs to be sanctified and worshipped. That causes a lot of anxiety. I believe that a lot of the angst which Jewish people feel and Western people feel comes from that. It looks at the past, and because we believe that in a sense it's God's desire or God's will, and therefore He made it, and if it's God's actions, we begin sanctifying and also almost worshiping it in our mind, and that is something very troublesome. So what I suggest here is listening to this concept that originally I read in a book by Ramakrishna Puligandla, with a non-historiocentric, in which different things are somehow the past is hovering above the ground, is not necessarily set. It happened, it could have happened differently. By doing so, we're actually what we're doing is we're actually like submerging in a further fluid concept of the past or reality, that in which the future could affect the past and the past could affect the future, and build that way a future which is much further submerged and consisting of much better and blessings and wonders, and we're not necessarily locking ourselves down and identifying and sanctifying and even worshiping things that are very disagreeable. They're very disagreeable for us. So in a sense, what I wanted to suggest to you is to consider that type of thinking, and maybe that could help you reduce some angst in how you view reality. Thank you for listening.